Big thanks to Bandai America for sending these out. You can check out Bandai in the links in the description and where to buy these.
Kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hello there, collectors. It's Steven here, and today I am going to be reviewing something different on my channel. It's going to be the first time I'm going to be taking a look at this property. Today I'm going to be taking a look at some anime hero figures from Bandai America. It's going to be a part of the first rollout of the Anime Heroes lineup, and it's going to be from Saint Seiya, or if you don't know or remember it, Knights of the Zodiac. Back in the days of Toonami. Yeah, I actually learned that a couple years back. Two and two, I never added that up. Yeah. So anyway, again, this is going to be the first rollout of Saint Seiya in the Anime Heroes lineup from Bandai America, and today we are going to be taking a look at Pegasus Seiya Sagittarius Aiolos and Virgo Shaka. Again, part of the first rollout. Hopefully we do get more, because after playing around with these for a little bit, I do have to say that I'm actually rather impressed. However, there are some folks who must absolutely have the import multi-$100 Myth God EX cloths. But does everybody need that? Are these acceptable substitutes? Or maybe these are just going to go ahead and scratch that itch for about 25 bucks. Enough of the chit chat. Let's take a look to see whether or not these are worth adding into your collection. Before we go ahead and kick the review off formally, let's go ahead and take a look at the boxes real quick, because I actually do think they do look a little stylish. So taking a look at them, they don't so much remind me of anime as they remind me of manga. Sort of like the covers of the different books, actually sort of the pages as well. And I don't think embossment is the correct word, but they do have different textures to them, such as the different labeling and pictures of the characters. Do take note on the back of all the boxes, Gemini Saga is present for this wave, but unfortunately I don't have Gemini Saga here, but it does look to be the same quality as the rest of the figures, which, spoilers, is pretty good. Now do take note that Virgo Shaka is only on the back of Virgo Shaka's box. Do we have additional characters coming? Well, we have to wait and see. So I'm gonna try something new here, because after working on the reviews, I kind of found myself saying the same thing over and over again. And what that's gonna be is, for the price point, not only is the sculpt surprisingly good, and in some areas, you know, hey, there's nothing wrong there. I don't really know how they could improve, except for, you know, maybe making the details super duper accurate and just adding details for the sake of adding details, which isn't always good. And the paint maybe like sort of chromish in detail, much like the several $100 imports, which these are not. I'm going to go ahead and put all three together, because they're all about the same quality and they're all equally good for about the same price point. I will say that in regards to the paint application, I didn't really notice any sort of paint slop. The only one that I could really think of would have to be the yellow that was used for Pegasus Seiya. I think in some spots, specifically on the waistband and on the headband, maybe it could have been masked off a little better. Maybe it could have used a thicker coat of paint. Not quite sure. It does look a little off to me, but otherwise, I'm not noticing any sort of chunky paint here and there. I'm not noticing anything in regards to thick, globby gold paint on either of Sagittarius Aiolos or Virgo Shaka, which is actually surprising because gold paint is relatively difficult to pull off regardless of the company that's doing it. So that's pretty good there. Now for these figures, it does appear under macro photography that they attempted to do the digital printing that so many companies are trying today. So kudos to Bandai for doing that. Now, in regards to quality control, like, let's say, random smudges on the figure here and there, Sagittarius Aiolos had a couple of smudge marks on the wings, but realistically speaking, I just took my thumb and rubbed it a little bit, and it just came off. So, I guess if you have a similar issue, just try, and you'll be fine. So, in regards to looks, yeah, the sculpt, paint application, both are fine. We may have different things like molding lines, flash marks, but hey, you're going to have that anywhere. So yeah, they look just fine for the price point. Can't really go wrong there. The articulation on these figures is mostly going to be the same, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I would like to say that Pegasus Seiya here is going to have the best range of articulation out of the three, so we'll go ahead and start here. So we have the head on a ball joint where it plugs into the neck. So as you can see here, we get some decent range of movement. Unfortunately, the hair does collide in with the armor, so can't really look up that far, but we can look down just far enough. You can see that the neck where it plugs into the body does move around just a little bit, but I don't necessarily think that that's a joint so much as it is just where it connects in. We don't really have anything here on the torso aside from the waist joint, so I'll go ahead and get that out of the way, which it's a ball joint, so this way it rocks around just fine enough, and we have plenty of clearance, so up that far, down that far, so in terms of how much this one's going to be able to look around, yeah, pretty decent. Good there. For our arm joints here, what do we have? Well, actually, where the shoulders plug into the body, we do have a ball joint, which is pretty fun. Then we do have a hinge, as you can see there, which allows to move the arm up and down. We have a dedicated bicep swivel. We have a double hinge for the elbow joint. Here for this figure, we're going to basically be able to get full use out of both of the joints there. The hand popped off the wrist, but that's okay. As you can see here, if you're familiar with the SH Figuarts lineup, then you know that we do have a swivel hinge combo here for the wrists. So this way the hand plugs in on a peg and the hand can swivel around. So that's good. We are actually going to be using what I do believe is a Y-shaped joint system here in the hips, where there's going to be a joint in the pelvis area here, and then we do have a ball joint system there, because as you can see, it doesn't seem to be a true pull-down system because the hips are going to rock whenever I pull down one leg, but still, we get ball jointed hips, so we're going to be able to move forward and back that far, out about that far, and we are going to be able to swivel them around a little bit, but we do have dedicated thigh swivels where the thighs plug into the hips there. So that's good. We can spin them around, but if you're not careful, then you're going to misalign the ball joints where they plug onto the hips. So just be careful there. Double hinge knees, which both of them do work, so that's good. And I will say, if you're very skilled, you're going to be able to utilize the knees to stabilize the figures a bit more. We do have dedicated ankle rockers, so that's good. We have pretty good range of movement there, which I like. And yes, we do have hinges, so we can move the feet around just fine enough. So yes, in terms of articulation, this figure here is going to be my favorite. Now we're going to go ahead and move on over to Sagittarius Aiolos, which again, articulation is going to be very similar in regards to moving the ball joint around here for the neck. As you can see, similar range of movement. Hair is blocked, moving the head up. Down is just fine. We do have a waist joint, which is a ball joint, but it is a bit tight here on this particular unit, and because of the waist armor, little restricted movement. We do have ball jointed shoulders where they plug in, and we are going to have hinges because of the armor up here. Forward and back movement is a little restricted, but surprisingly not too much. We have a dedicated bicep swivel, spin the arm around. Because of the armor here and the way it's designed, the double hinge for the elbow doesn't move all the way up to sort of touch the bicep. That's about the extent of the range, which is okay. You know, we get some decent range out of there still. Still the same style of wrist joints, so we're good there. I showed you the waist, as you can see down here. Same style of hip joint, but again, because of the waist armor, well, that's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Yeah, it kind of is. But forward and back movement, yeah, it's a little bit hindered, but that's okay. We still get good range. Again, dedicated thigh swivels, so that's good. For the hinge at the knee, ankle rockers, and a hinge for the feet. But because of the way the armor is for the lower portion of the leg, we are going to have some restricted movement. Virgo Shaka, we do have long hair, so we do have rather restricted head movement. so do be careful there. You can actually hear the hair moving into the armor. Down movement is fine. Side to side is a little restricted, but it is what it is. Because of the large armor on the chest, the exact same joints, but basically moving up, not really going to be so well moving in regards to moving the arms forward and back. But because of the dedicated bicep swivel, we can pull off the signature pose. In regards to the double hinge in the elbow, that's about the extent there. Obviously, we can stretch the arms straight out. Same style of wrist joint. The waist joint does help in order to get the figure to look up and down. In regards to leg movement, out that far to the side for the splits, that far forward and back, dedicated thigh swivel. Here's what we're looking at for knee hinge. Better movement for the ankle rocker, and surprisingly, because of this, I guess you might say, overlap with the ankle, we do get good movement, and then forward and back. So overall for articulation, yeah, I would say given that, these are not meant to be super hyper articulated with over-the-top engineering, the figures do move pretty well. What I will say, though, is sometimes if you're not careful with balancing, they might fall over. And that's because 2 out of 3 of these figures have a larger back end. We got wings, and then we have long hair, Super Saiyan 3 style. So just be careful when you're posing and balancing your figures so this way they don't topple over, and you should be just fine. In regards to accessories, we are going to have what I believe is essential for all human characters. Yes. So all of the characters are going to come with alternate hand parts. Essentially, splayed hands and fists. Yes. Sagittarius Aiolos is going to come with splayed hands along with Pegasus Seiya. And then for Virgo Shaka, we do have the sort of cupped hands in order to recreate that signature pose. But for the alternate hand parts, they will be fists. In regards to the characters that will be wearing gold armor, you will be able to swap the different hand parts. So this way, if you wanted to do something like that, you could. So if maybe you found the super splayed hands more appropriate for Virgo Shaka for a specific pose, you could do that. Or if you wanted that sort of cupped hand for Sagittarius Aiolos, you could do that as well. Now, I don't happen to have Gemini Saga, who is featured on the back for Virgo Shaka's box, but for any of those hands that Gemini Saga may come with, I would imagine you could do the same. Now we'll go ahead and move on over to a size comparison here for you, so this way you can see how big these characters are, along with some of the other figures you just might have on your shelf. And of course, we're going to include some other anime characters, like Godzilla. Yeah, because Netflix. Yeah. Anyway, you can see that these are generally speaking going to be on, I would say, the larger side of the 6-inch scale. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Let's say you're not interested in investing the $150, $200 in the Saint Myth Godcloth EX import stuff, or maybe you fondly remember Knights of the Zodiac from when you were growing up, but you don't really want to, spend more than $30, $45 on a representation of one of your favorite characters from the show back then. Well, guess what? This is going to be a perfect way to fit a character into your collection. Now, I think that these look just fine. They look great, and they have great articulation for the price point. They're great in that regard. And despite the fact that Bandai America only promotes more than 16 points of articulation, they should say more than 24 points of articulation specifically on Pegasus Seiya. The only critique that I would have is I would say more accessories for Sagittarius Aiolos. We do have the iconic bow, which is not included, and I think maybe for a future release or a different version or maybe a deluxe release, they could include that. But you know what I have to say? These aren't figure arts, so don't put that mindset to these. But I would say if you have experience with Dragon Stars, these are like Dragon Stars, but a step up. If you're kind of on the fence, I would say go ahead and get them, and you may be pleasantly surprised. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.